Hello and welcome to West Wales, and welcome to a spin and chat that I have not done for months. But as the season has changed and I'm not as busy in the garden, then I'm sort of getting back into my fibre arts, and I thought I'd do a spin and chat. So I've got some rolags made up. Here they are. And I really need to clear my bobbins before I start spinning for my rare breed spin along, which actually has completely fallen by the wayside. So I can't really call it a spin along because I haven't been doing my own spin along. Anyway, I need to clear some bobbins. So I've got one single of this already spun. I need to spin another single, ply it, and then I can get on with my next rare breed spin. So I'm just going to change the camera angle so you can see what I'm doing down here, which is on my Ashford traditional mid-1980s, and she's called Geraldine, named after the Vicar of Dibley. I have a little bit of random hand spinning on this bobbin, but I'm going to not worry about that. Just spin these and then clear the bobbins properly when I've got to the end of this spin. So I've just oiled my wheel and dusted her and got rid of the cobwebs, because the last time I was doing a spinning video, someone pointed out I had cobwebs on my wheel. I hadn't noticed. It is a very cobwebby time of the year, and the wheel had been sat in the conservatory, and this is not the most weather-tight of areas, and there are obviously little holes, and the spiders do like to come in and take up residence. And obviously one decided that my wheel would be an excellent place to make a web. But I do try and keep old Geraldine oiled and dust free. I mean, spinning is a dusty old business, so you do get a lot of dust on your wheel. Just use machine oil and just the moving parts. Just be careful not to get any oil too close to your bobbin, because you'll end up with oil on your spinning, which you don't really want. And she has her clattery moments, this wheel, but generally that is to do with the weather and how humid it is. But although we've had quite a lot of rain, it is dry again, and she's spinning very nicely. If this is your first spin and chat, then the idea is that I just do some spinning, chat about a bit of fibre arts, what's been going on, and I hope that I keep you company while you do a little bit of spinning or knitting or sewing or whatever your particular fibre or textile art is. And this is in no way any kind of instructional video. This is my version of going to spinning group or craft group, because as a caregiver, I don't get a chance to go to guild or a spinning group. So this is my way of just sort of having a chat about the fibre arts. Bit of a one-way conversation, I realise, but you know, you have to just make the best of whatever life throws at you. And this is my best way of sort of having a spinning group. And I love to know what people are spinning. I have toyed with the idea of sort of having a community where I could actually speak to people, because, you know, I mean, I love YouTube. Do not get me wrong. I love YouTube. I love the comments, but it's not the same as like a group or a community or something like that. But people want to charge huge amounts of money, and I just don't feel comfortable doing that. YouTube do have a sort of membership thing, but it's more that you kind of put up extra content. I'm really not comfortable doing that. I'm not saying that it's not right. I'm not saying that anybody else shouldn't do it. I am not comfortable with it personally. It doesn't feel like it's something I want to do, because then I would feel obligated to it, and I don't want this to be any kind of obligation. This is supposed to be fun and light-hearted and, you know, just an escape from the stresses of the everyday. And I think it's pretty stressful for quite a lot of people at the moment. Right, I haven't actually done a ply back test, so let's just see. Oh yeah, that's going to be absolutely fine. I mean, that single that is the same as this is the last thing I'd spun on this, so although I'd oiled it, hadn't changed the tension. So it's pretty good really. And I'm not worrying about slubs going through, I'm not worrying about consistency, I'm just enjoying the spin. And it just broke there. My recommendation is, if you think it's going to break, just stop treadling, don't try and hold on to it, and just let it go and rejoin. If you think there's a better way of doing it, I'm always here, you know, always happy to hear in the comments what you do. So if you think you're going to get a break, do you hold on to it? What do you do? You're never going to treadle your way out of trouble, so just stop treadling. It is always the best policy, I find. I mean, the only thing with letting go of your fibre is that if you're spinning something really, really fine, you do run the risk of it getting embedded on your bobbin. So maybe that's something to bear in mind. But hopefully if you've stopped treadling, then you haven't got the tension on there and you've let it go, so you've not sort of held it really tight, then hopefully it doesn't get embedded. But yeah, again, I'm always happy to have recommendations, tips and tricks, because I enjoy them and other hand spinners enjoy them. I have a lot of new hand spinners who pop along and see what I'm doing, and a lot of experienced hand spinners who've got way more knowledge than I do. So I've been to Haverfordwest today. I went to the supermarket, the wonders of Lidl, because it is that time of the year when I'm thinking about starting to make Christmas food. And I do make a Christmas cake. I mean, I used to make a cake every single week. I mean, not a Christmas cake, obviously, but I used to make a cake for us to have with our cup of tea every single week. But as we have got older, this is not something that our waistlines can cope with anymore. And we both are trying to slowly lose a bit of weight. Very slowly, a bit of weight is coming off, but I will not do any kind of crazy crash diet. I am just trying to be sensible, cutting down on the amount of sugar. And unfortunately, that means cutting down on the amount of cake. So cake is sort of days out and high days and holidays. And I think Christmas most definitely is a high day and a holiday. So I will be making a Christmas cake. I'm going to go with Delia Smith's classic Christmas cake. If you want her recipe, it's online for free, Delia Online. I used to make a Christmas cake or the same recipe Christmas cake that my grandmother made, which was from the 1950s, and it was in the big pink book. And I've probably shared this before because, you know, I do repeat myself. I'm gonna blame it on my middle-aged brain, but I do repeat myself. Yes, so I used to make this recipe, which was from a 1950s cookery book, but I've changed, and I think this Delia recipe is pretty good. You also have the option to put split almonds on the top, so you don't actually have to have icing and marzipan. I think there would be a small riot if I didn't put icing and marzipan on it, but I'll try and persuade Andrew that he'd really like a cake without almonds on, because I mean, I don't eat the icing. I quite like the marzipan, but I don't like icing, so I always take the icing off. But I think it would be much better if we just had a really rich fruit cake, lovely rich fruit cake, and then the split almonds on the top in a circle. So we'll see. I think a discussion needs to be had. I've started to do my little bit of research for the rare breed spinning, and I like to try and find out a little bit about the breeds and give you a bit of information on them. These videos take a bit of time to film because, you know, I actually want to get my facts right and have a bit more of a script than I do when I'm doing something like this, which is just me sort of chatting. But I have started doing it, and generally I look at the Breed Society website. There's really good information. The Rare Breed Survival Trust have normally got pretty good information. Then I've got a couple of good books that I look up. And as it's a Welsh breed, I was rather hoping that I was going to be able to go and actually get some actual real photographs, because I am pretty sure that one of the farmers up on the Priscilles keeps them. But the thing about sheep on the Priscilles is they are, well, obviously up on the Priscilles, and they don't really sort of hang about in fields or barns. They are, you know, just roaming around on top of the mountains. So you don't always get to kind of have a good look at them. But I will try, and maybe I'll be lucky. I also know there is somebody that keeps the badger-faced Welsh mountain sheep around here, because I've seen those. But I'm pretty sure there's someone that keeps the Balwin as well. Is it Balwin or Belwyn? Balwin, I think. Anyway, so that is my cunning plan, but that of course does take a bit of time. I thought this week's vloggy style video I would sort of concentrate on making the Christmas cake, finally get round to making the sloe gin. And then we have a bit of a day out planned for a little bit later in the week, weather dependent. So if we come across anything fun, then I will film that for you. So the other thing that I'm planning to do this week is choose the photographs for the calendar. So last year, very late on in the day, I made a calendar with Andrew's photography, and I put it for sale on Zazzle, which is print on demand. And Zazzle means that you can order it in whatever part of the world you live in. It's printed locally to you and then shipped to you. I mean, I don't even get to see them. They literally are just shipped from the local print fulfillment. People seem to like it, so I thought I'd do another one. And I thought this one would be a flower one. So some of the flowers, and maybe some of the birdies as well that we've had in our little garden here. Now, the thing about Zazzle is I can actually make last year's calendar pictures available with 2026 dates on them. Does that make sense? So I might do that as well, so that if you didn't buy a calendar last year and you wanted to get one that was a landscape photography one, you could get one with sort of an up-to-dated, yeah, come on, speak English, an up-to-date version. So a 2026 version of the 2025 calendar. Oh, I hope that makes sense. So let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in. I mean, it does not cost me any money to do it. And as I always say, you know, I'm just delighted that people come along here and watch my funny, quirky little videos and leave comments. And, you know, so if you wish to buy a calendar, that would be fantastic. I would be very, very grateful. However, that's not what it's all about, is it? It's just people have said that they like Andrew's photos and have asked if they can purchase them. and a calendar seems like quite a good way of doing that. And because of the magic of modern printing and technology, I can just offer it on Zazzle, and then you don't have to worry about postage and imports and tariffs and all the kind of mad stuff that you have to worry about, because generally it's being printed where you live or very close to where you live. In Europe, they're printed in Ireland, near Cork. And weirdly enough, for us, Ireland is actually closer than if they were printed in London. So there is another company I could get them done with, which is in London. You have to be a little bit selective which companies you go with, because quality is not always what you'd like it to be. But I know the quality of Zazzle is excellent. I also know the quality of this company in London is excellent, but I don't know, it starts getting a bit complicated, doesn't it, when I've got more than one thing going on. Right, anyway, so let's pick up another rolag. So this is spinning really well. It's just very easy to spin. I mean, there is a bit of texture and lumpy bumpiness in this, but I sort of quite like that, particularly as I'm probably going to weave it. I really like having a bit of textured yarn from the weaving. I have been looking again at getting a jumbo flyer so I can spin some more sort of textured art style yarns to incorporate in my weaving. I mean, if I saw one coming up on eBay, I think I would just go for it. But having just bought those wool combs, I think I need to put myself on a little bit of a budget for a little while. Oh, I can feel myself treadling a little bit fast, so I need to slow the treadle down a little bit. So if you are new to spinning and to treadling, then your fibre should not be difficult. You shouldn't be fighting your fibre. It should all be very smooth. And I mean, sometimes you get what's kind of known as a toothy fibre, where it kind of sticks together a little bit. That can be a bit more challenging. And I've got a bit here which has got quite a bit of sort of toothy fibre in it, and I'm having to pull it back a little bit harder than I would if it was something that was really, really smooth. And now I'm getting onto a bit that's got really, really smooth fibre in it. I think this is Corridale and some silk in here as well. And, you know, it's just really buttery to spin, really easy. I will link the video where I made these rolags in the description below so that you can have a look at me making them. And really, this was my making for joy, making without a purpose, just for fun project. I liked these colours so much, after I'd finished recording that video, I went back and made some more rolags using the same colours. And I'm so glad I did, because I just love this. It is just so fabulous. I think I probably said at the time, if I could only work out how to make these colours with natural dyes, I would be an extremely happy woman. But as I've only just started to really experiment with getting blues using woad, I think that is some time away. So I'm also quite tempted to plant some Japanese indigo, because it absolutely does grow around here. A lot of Japanese plants find our climate very agreeable. So I just wonder if I could grow a bit of Japanese indigo, which does create a different blue from woad. There is more of the indigo pigment in it. So that's sort of why indigo, Japanese indigo, was sort of took over from woad, because although woad does have exactly the same indigo pigment in it, there's not as much, it's not as strong. And again, it's probably to do with climate, I would guess. I mean, a lot of natural dyeing, you're so reliant on what the soil is like, what the water is like, to kind of get different colours. And also, I mean, not particularly with indigo, because you don't use alum or copper or anything like that as a mordant, but I mean, copper as a mordant can really change things. Iron as a mordant can really change things. So I just had to stop for the Amazon delivery man delivering some ink, and Millie knows. She was miles ahead of me. I was going, what's she barking at? And of course, Amazon delivery man. Anyway, right, let's get back to it. So I'm going to take people at their word when they say that they like the really long videos. And this is going to be quite a long video. And we will see if people actually watch it. I mean, I don't do what the YouTube gurus say, because they kind of say, oh, 8 to 12 minutes. And yeah, I don't think I've made an 8 to 12 minute video in about 2 years. Anyway, it is good fun. So a lot of people are taking part in Socktober, I noticed. I'm not. I don't do these things because I know I wouldn't keep up with them. It's like in the summer, oh, what am I thinking of? Tour de Fleece, there you go. In summer, Tour de Fleece in the summer. I don't do it because I just know that I wouldn't keep up with it, and I'd get bored by it. I know what I'm like. But people have lots of fun doing it. But I think you have to know yourself, don't you? So yeah, a lot of people doing Socktober. Yanta was doing Socktober, I noticed. And who else was doing Socktober? Somebody else I noticed was doing Socktober when I was looking at YouTube. I kind of watch a really wide mixture of YouTube videos. I mean, I am a real consumer of YouTube. I mean, we just, I was to say as a family, I don't think the dog really has a say, but Andy and I, we don't really watch terrestrial television, haven't done for years. We like a Netflix series. We both have our YouTube channels that we like to watch. Andrew likes to watch a bit of photography YouTubing. I like vlogs. I like spinning. Last night I was watching Rewilding with Jude, and I was very jealous of his pantry space. I mean, I am very happy with my house, but I would quite like a pantry space. So when I was at the supermarket today, I was just thinking, I need to get a few extra tins, a few bit of extra pasta and stuff. Because although we don't get very bad weather here very often, when we do, we really do. I think the year after we moved in, it was the beast from the east. And because we're on a hill, it was just impossible to get over to Fishguard because it was just an ice rink on the road. And I mean, I slipped over, one of my neighbours slipped over and broke her ankle. It was treacherous. And I was kind of thinking, oh gosh, we don't really have very much food in the house. And I mean, I ventured out, I think it was about day 3, and kind of shuffled my way along to the post office and picked up a few supplies. I was like, I am never being in that position again. That was just not very nice. So I do try and have a bit of an emergency stock in the house for the winter. and we have electric heating plus a wood burner. Have an electric oven, but the hob is gas, and we have bottled gas because we don't have mains gas here. So I'm never worried that we're going to be cold or that we won't be able to eat. And as somebody who keeps bees, I have quite a lot of beeswax, so I have candles and torches, and we used to camp, so we still have kind of bits and pieces of camping equipment that we've kept for those kind of emergency moments. As my little sister always says, oh, when the zombie apocalypse comes, you'll be fine. I was like, well, I suppose so. I definitely have prepper tendencies, not kind of full on freeze dried food and kind of 2 years worth of food, because I think if the worst came to the worst, I think I would probably just say, yeah, just shoot me now. But I don't want to be in the situation where I'm running out of food and I feel I have to go out when the road outside is like an ice rink. We've got a really steep hill to get to the shops, and I don't want to have to risk it. I mean, in the days when we had a Land Rover, it was fine, we just had all-weather tyres on. It was fine, although I did once do a pirouette in a Land Rover on an icy road. I think that's quite an achievement. I think it's quite hard to do that. But yeah, I couldn't take our vehicle on an icy road. It's just not designed for it. And I have already had one smashing experience when I tripped over Andrew's wheelchair ramp in the middle of COVID and smashed my kneecap. It kind of split the patella into 3 bits, because your patella, when it's kind of forming when you're a baby, is actually in 3 bits, and then it fuses together. So I managed to trip down the wheelchair ramp that goes onto the patio, landing knee first on a bit of concrete, which then shattered my kneecap into 3 bits. And the bone healed very well. I mean, I won't bore you with the details about going to hospital in the middle of COVID, but anyway, I mean, the bone did heal very well, but kind of the tendons and the ligaments and the cartilage is just not the same as it used to be, which is, if you ever watch any of my videos where I'm sort of walking away kind of off into the distance, you might notice that I do limp a little bit, and that's because of my knee. And yeah, that experience was enough to last a lifetime. I really don't want to be slipping over on ice, breaking anything else, because that was just a very unfortunate thing to do. Anyway, I shall try and change the subject and be a little more cheery, because that was getting a bit kind of a bit dark, wasn't it? Right. Okay. So not much left. It's going really well. Really enjoying it. When I finish spinning this single, I am going to let it sit for a day. I think the general modern conclusion is that it doesn't actually make that much difference if you let your singles rest. I just always have, and I quite like doing it, so I'm sort of carrying on doing it. And I think, as with most things in spinning, it's sort of personal choice. We all start off learning a certain way of doing things, the way that's taught. And then over the years, I think we sort of adapt our own styles, don't we? I think if you're a spinning teacher, then you probably have to kind of be a little more technically correct, because if you're passing on a skill, then I think you probably do need to kind of sort of know what you're doing, which is why I always say I don't really do like particularly detailed what am I trying to say? I don't really do like instruction. I mean, do the occasional instruction video, but it's not really my thing. I'm never gonna be a spinning teacher. It's not in the stars. It's not my passion, really. I mean, I like sharing my hobby, but it's the fibers, it's the colours, it's the history of the breeds. I mean, I am a bit of a social history nerd, and that's the thing that I really enjoy. And if I spin a slightly lumpy yarn, oh well, you know, it's only for me. So, but I feel I am repeating myself because I think I say that quite a lot. Now, talking about social history, I have really been enjoying watching Time Team on YouTube. And if you're not in the UK, you probably don't know what Time Team is, but it was a bit of a kind of mainstay of Sunday night TV on Channel 4, I guess late 90s into the 2000s. I can't really remember when it was on, but anyway, it's an archaeology program, and they've got a team of archaeologists, 3 days, and they go and investigate an archaeological site and just see what they can learn and kind of solve mysteries. I mean, sometimes they don't really find very much, but it's still really good TV, or I find it really good TV. And they do very much focus on the social history. And, you know, just, I find that a really great thing to have on, particularly when I'm working. If I'm sort of in front of the computer and I'm doing things that I find really dull, which is kind of recolouring designs and writing descriptions and reposting the same design on different products, which is mind-numbing. Well, I find it mind-numbing. Then I quite like to have a bit of the old Time Team on in the background, in my earpods, and when I get really to the point where I can't possibly write kind of teddy bear baby shower in sage green another time, I just kind of stop and kind of watch them digging up a bit of Roman Britain. So the other thing I have been working on is the idea that I want to incorporate some of my sort of graphic design and illustration into some fun little downloads and products for the channel, and particularly for the newsletter, because I try and send out a monthly newsletter with just sort of channel news, and I also try and include some kind of little freebie, and sometimes it'll be a vintage knitting pattern. Last month, October, it was a greetings card, and I think for November I want to make some little tags for hand spun yarn. So if you're gifting hand spun yarn, or you know, just for yourself, then it's quite nice to have a little information tag on that. So I thought I would just design a few little tags that will go out in November. So I'm recording this in October, middle of October. So that should be available with November's newsletter, and I will leave a link to the newsletter sign up in the description. And you also get a breed study form when you sign up for the newsletter. Yeah, so I think there you go. I have decided what the newsletter freebie is going to be for this month. Well, for next month. Yeah. So I kind of started doing some gouache illustrations, and I did a little wonky drawing of Geraldine here, and I thought, gosh, that would be sort of fun on a tag to put on your yarn, wouldn't it? So I'm going to do a few other illustrations. Probably they'll be gouache. And if you're not familiar with art materials, then gouache is a sort of a very matte paint, and you can get both water soluble and you can also get an acrylic gouache. I use water soluble gouache, and is known as designer's gouache. And back in the day, before everything went digital, then poster painters in particular, and people that sort of designed advertising, when coloured advertising just started to come into printed materials, then very often the artwork was done in designer gouache because it was flat and it printed very well. Again, another one of my mild obsessions is vintage printing, and I do collect vintage knitting patterns. And I'm just fascinated by the way that print technology has just evolved over the years. And you can kind of, these days I can pretty much date a knitting pattern by not only the style of the pattern, but by the font that's used and the style of printing. And I just find it really very interesting. But going back to making tags, yes, so gouache, which is different to watercolour. Watercolour is quite translucent, as gouache has got quite a lot of chalk in it, so it's very matte. And you paint with it in a slightly different way. Yeah, anyway, that really is a tangent, isn't it? And that's absolutely nothing to do with fibre arts. But, I do like to go off on a tangent. So I'm getting to the end of this now. I've got one more rolag to go. I hope you have managed to spin something delightful. And I'm going to say, I will see you in a few days' time with a vlog.